Coming up on the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast, Bex has $60 million plans in central Indiana. We put a bow on the 2019 legislative session. Purdue's nursing school marks a milestone. Ball State touts what it calls a social media command center. Indy 11's CEO speaks out on the new stadium bill. We take a look at some of Indiana's best non-alcoholic beverage options. And our panel of insiders takes on the week's top stories. Welcome to the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. I'm Andy Ober. Bex Hybrids is planning to pump more than $60 million into a new soybean processing facility at its headquarters in Atlanta, Indiana, and add dozens of jobs. It's the latest sign of what has been tremendous growth for Bex over the last several years. CEO Sonny Beck and Indiana Economic Development Corporation President Elaine Beadle joined Inside Indiana Business host Gary Dick to talk about the project.
Sonny, first of all, congratulations on a major deal there. $62 million expansion, essentially doubling production operations in Atlanta. Give us kind of an overview of what this expansion is all about.
This expansion is about a soybean processing plant that would double our capacity we have there. There's also a corn dryer involved and also several what we call research things, and as well as storage capacity.
As you talk about research, I think this is one of the interesting elements here. The research that you do at your headquarters here in Indiana is amazing, really cutting edge research. Talk about that, the investment you make in it, and how important research, the R&D piece is to you.
Well, it's very essential that you have the best products. I mean, you can do a lot of marketing, a lot of selling, but if it doesn't come down to where you have the best product, you're not going to stay on the farm more than 1 year.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask you about the jobs, the people you're going to be hiring soon. But Elaine, as you look at this deal, large, $62 million in the ag bioscience space, which is a big focus of the state and organizations like Agrinovus. Mm-hmm. Talk about what this means to that space and the potential you see for that here in Indiana.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when we look at agriculture, it's a $31 billion impact on our economy, employs about 100,000 people. So it is important to Indiana, and what we're seeing happening is a big change in agriculture. I mean, when I grew up on a farm, we did things pretty basic, pretty one way, and now with all the technology that you mentioned earlier, coming into how we monitor things, how we can advance things, how we improve things. It's pretty amazing, and we've been very fortunate to attract some of the businesses that are looking at ag tech as their sector and creating these types of applications.
In terms of workforce, obviously that's a big issue in agriculture, really looking at getting more young people in. Right. As you look at the jobs at a place like Bex, very high tech, software jobs, all kinds of tech related jobs, it's got to be a bonus.
Absolutely. You know, since Indiana is really growing its tech sector at, twice the national average, which is terrific. And agriculture is a basic place where technology is coming in. So again, it's not the farm your grandparents had. Right. And so I think we need to kind of communicate that as much as we can to young people as they're coming up and looking for jobs, that this is high tech. Yeah. And there's lots of wonderful things happening there.
Sonny, as you talk about the success at Bex, which I think is truly one of the great Indiana homegrown success stories, talk about that, because you've grown into you're the largest family-owned seed company in the country, number 3 overall, which is amazing, and you do business in 11 states.
Well, we've been really blessed. I mean, over the years, for the last 30 years, and with great employees that really are part of our family, and we really believe they're part of our extended family and take care of our customers, which have become very loyal. And I think one of the reasons we've had good products for our customers, but also because we're family owned, we can share back, and so we take what we might call shareholder rewards and give back to our customers, which kind of says, hey, we really appreciate you too.
Yeah, give us an idea. You've got about 60 jobs you're going to be hiring related to this expansion, the types of people, the kinds of jobs you're looking to fill.
Well, you mentioned technology, and there's probably 6 or 8 of those that'll be in the technology field. We have a couple of dozen people in IT already, and in some in just helping other people learn our IT and keep track of our stuff. But we do a lot of our own software writing. I think there's about 16 people in our department department, and we'll be hiring more people for that to basically keep up and to go further with what we call Farm Server, and that's helping farmers manage the data that is on their farms.
Only have 20 seconds, Elaine, but this is an expansion from within.
Right.
The attracting from outside gets a lot of attention, but there's a lot of focus on those existing businesses.
Great point. Actually, when it comes down to about 70% of the incentives that we provide to companies are to those inside Indiana already, helping to expand their footprint, and that's what we love to do. We're growing our own right here in Indiana.
All right, Elaine Beadle, president of the IEDC. Sonny Beck, CEO at Beck's. Congratulations, and thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
All right.
Still to come, Purdue takes aim at the nursing shortage, and Ball State doubles down on digital marketing and analytics. But first, the Indiana General Assembly has wrapped up for the year, passing a nearly $35 billion budget, a much-debated gambling bill, and more. The Indiana Chamber of Commerce, however, says there were some missed opportunities. President Kevin Breniger came in studio to weigh in on the session.
Again, as you feel, generally speaking, for business, the session was a positive one.
It was outstanding on many, many fronts. We will move jobs and economic growth forward for our state. We did things like make the venture capital tax credit transferable. We have a data center incentive bill, doubled the funding for workforce training, both for employers and employees, and put more focus on the federal funding towards high demand, high wage jobs, passed the bias crime legislation that was so important to Indiana's image, and much more.
Yeah, I asked about the bias crimes because there are people who certainly were positive about that, but some suggested it didn't go too far.
Yeah. It wasn't, the list of enumerated characteristics and traits was not as comprehensive as we would like, but there was, in addition to that, language that said that the judge can enhance the sentence for any crime committed based on any trait, characteristic, affiliation, etc. I've spoken to two retired Indiana Supreme Court justices who both said they believe that local judges will use that language to enhance the sentence for any crime, bias crime committed against an individual that's not in the specific list, but is in the general category.
I want to ask you about something that did not happen, that the chamber wanted to happen, and that's legislation related to smoking. You wanted to see an increase in the cigarette tax, also an increase in the legal smoking age from 18 to 21. Neither happened.
And that we start taxing e-cigarette and vaping products because that's rampant in our schools. That was the one area we felt like the General Assembly just completely failed. And our smoking rate has gone up while most states are going down. Our rank among the states went from 39th to 44th worst, and year over year, vaping went up 78% among teens. This is an area that must be addressed. The ball was completely dropped by the General Assembly, and it's not acceptable, and we've got to push harder next year.
And you and many others will say that smoking is a business issue.
It is a business issue. It's estimated that to cost Indiana businesses $6.2 billion a year. That's money that doesn't get spent for training, for wages and salaries, for plant and equipment modernization. It just gets flushed down the toilet. And that impact is from higher healthcare costs, lost productivity, and absenteeism caused by smoking.
Will you be back again at the State House, continue the fight?
Absolutely. We are a part of the Alliance for a Healthier Indiana, along with the hospital, state medical associations, Anthem, and the tobacco cessation organizations. And this is too important to quit. It is so important to our business climate. And our smoking rate is 50% higher than the national average. We've got to do something about it in the policy realm, and there are things that can and should be done that will impact that for Hoosiers.
Very quickly, we do only have about 20 seconds, but education funding,
Yes.
Your take on that? There were people on both sides of the fence, some who said it was great, others questioned.
I think the General Assembly did as much as they could without raising taxes, and while still maintaining a balanced budget, a solid rainy day fund, and a AAA bond rating. But they scraped the cupboards out and put in a lot of additional money for education, recognizing that our teacher salaries and education funding have sort of been falling behind here in recent years.
All right. Kevin Breniger from the Indiana Chamber of Commerce. As always, great perspective on the State House. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, Gary.
All right.
Later in the podcast, Ball State details its social media command center and a look at what's next with an Indianapolis soccer stadium. But now, Purdue University says its nursing school class of 2019 marks a milestone. It's double the number of students that graduated last spring. The school thinks the growth is the perfect medicine to treat a growing nursing shortage. Associate Professor Nancy Edwards and Community Health Network Chief Nursing Officer Jean Putnam joined Kylie Valletta in the business of health.
Jean, let's start with you. Let's just set the stage with the nursing shortage. Nationally, numbers say 203,000 new RNs each year needed through 2026. What does the nursing shortage look like here in Indiana?
We're feeling the nursing shortage for sure, but the nice thing is that, folks like Purdue have increased their amount of students that are graduating, and so it's really helping the workforce. The challenge we're having is that we still need more, and so everybody's got to pony up to that. Plus, we're also having an issue with clinical placements. Do we have enough places to place all these students? I think Nancy would agree with that. And do we have enough faculty to actually teach those students? So
you're feeling the pinch at
I
Community.
do feel the pinch. We hire about 500 RNs a year, and and we have a very small nursing turnover rate compared to the state and the country, but that's still a lot of nurses. We have almost 5,000 nurses in the network. So
Nancy, you're growing the school at Purdue, obviously, to address the nursing shortage, going from about 400 total undergrads to 800 in the nursing school. Why did Purdue really want to make this happen?
Well, one of the things with Purdue, we're a land grant university, so part of what we do is to help meet the needs of the community. And we've listened to our community partners who are with us, who are saying we need more nurses, not only in the hospitals, but nurses are working everywhere. Nurses are in public health, long-term care, the community, the schools. So there's such a big need. And we have approximately 1,400 applicants every year. And at that time, we were only taking 100 to 120. So we have a lot of students or people who want to come in and be students. So we decided to try to double our admission, and we started that in 2016 by doubling our freshman class every year to get to approximately 800. So we hope in the long run that we will be graduating about 200 nurses a year, which is up from a little over 100 from what we used to have.
And Jean, you're a Purdue alum, also on the school's advisory board. What is the importance of private industry and universities working hand in hand like this to train tomorrow's nurses?
It's really critical. I mean, we can't do this without each other. I talked about the clinical placements, but also what kinds of skill sets and what we need the nurses to know. And that we have to be able to say, look, we need to think about different areas that we're training nurses in. So that conversation needs to occur all the time to make sure that we are meeting the needs of the school and they're meeting the needs of the practice settings when the students graduate.
And the American Association of Colleges of Nursing says nursing schools across the country are struggling to expand, to grow their capacity. So Nancy, Purdue made it look easy from the outside. How was Purdue able to execute this?
I think the way we were, because of our good community relationships and our partners. If we didn't have good community partners who would help us with the clinical placements, to help us look at innovative ways of teaching, we use now some simulation. We use clinical placements out in the community, and then to help us to find the faculty that are needed. So I think we work together as a community. I think all nurses work together as a community to help meet the needs. And I think that's how Purdue, in collaboration with the community, we're able to do that.
In just a few seconds left, nursing is not what it was 10 or 15 years ago. What are the new skills that they really need?
It's the technical skills are still important, but honestly, we need those soft skills. We're looking for people who are compassionate and caring and want to help people who are suffering and need that emotional holding, if you will.
A true calling.
True calling.
All right. Well, thank you both for coming to the show. I appreciate it. Good luck with all the growth.
Thank you.
Remember, you can catch Inside Indiana Business Television on stations throughout the state every weekend. Head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com to check listings. Still to come, the latest on efforts for a soccer stadium in Indianapolis and some of the best options for mindful drinking in Indiana. But first, Ball State University says its Center for Advancement of Digital Marketing and Analytics, or CADMA, gives students hands-on marketing experience and provides key research opportunities for faculty. It includes what the school calls a social media command center as well. Social media outreach coordinator Carrie Whistle has more in our Ion Education segment.
First of all, let's talk about the Ball State Center for Advancement of Digital Marketing and Analytics. About a 4-year-old center there. What's it all about?
It was developed to provide our students, faculty, and some of our community partners the opportunity to get hands-on experience using our technology to execute social media marketing strategies.
Well, you talk about that, and because at the center you really do have some cutting-edge tools that are at the disposal of folks. Talk about some of those things and some of the hands-on experiences that folks get at the center.
Sure. So when we received the grant to create CADMA, which is our acronym for that long name, we built a social media lab, and this is where we serve all of the curriculum for the students that are going through the marketing program. It's really interactive. It has a lot of technology built into it. So it's really neat. It's actually, we're one of the few universities in the country that have anything like it.
Well, we talk about marketing. As you and I were talking off camera, marketing is not what it once was. When you look at the social media aspects, the digital nature, analytics, and there's so much information out there. Is that kind of at the heart of what we're talking about here in terms of a new way of doing marketing?
It is, yes.
Yeah. Summer program this year, and is this the first year for this program?
It's our second.
Second year. Talk about that, because you're really attracting high school students to give them a flavor for what it's like to be at Ball State, but they get hands-on experience at the center.
Sure. So they come, they spend a week on campus. It's kind of the first experience on a college campus for most of them. So seeing what it would be like to attend Ball State University. Like I said, 5 days, we jump right in with the foundations of digital marketing, but they also learn about the other programs that are offered in the College of Business. So whether they're interested in administration or entrepreneurship, or if it is marketing, they kind of get a flavor of what that's like.
What's been the reaction to the students that you've had there, whether it's traditional college students or maybe some of these high school students at the academy? What's the reaction, or what do you feel as though the impact has been of this connection?
Well, we've only had it for 1 year, and we had a pretty small first class. There was only about 10 students. And the cool thing about that is we were able to offer full ride scholarships to all of them. So it didn't cost any of them any money to attend. They learned a lot. They definitely had a lot of skills to take away from the academy. And then they could kind of narrow in on what they wanted to study if they came to Ball State. And I think of the 10, we've had 3 that have enrolled for the fall.
As we wrap up, is the center and perhaps the academy as well maybe a call from what you're hearing from business and industry to the kinds of students they want to get in, want to ultimately hire, people who understand the social media aspects, the analytics aspect, and those types of things?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it is such a unique center on the university's campus, there's a lack of people to hire. Yeah. So we're definitely filling the gap. We work with a lot of employers in Indy, in the Muncie area, and really in the region to help put those students in full-time positions after graduation.
All right, the Digital Marketing Summer Academy at Ball State, the Center for Advancement of Digital Marketing and Analytics, Carrie Whistle. Thanks very much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Okay.
Later in the podcast, top picks among Hoosier-made non-alcoholic drinks, and a look at Indiana's top business stories from our panel of insiders. But now, Indiana lawmakers passed a bill paving the way for a new soccer stadium in Indianapolis. It's part of the proposed $550 million 11 Park project, first announced in January. Indy 11 CEO Greg Stremlaw joined Bill Benner with more in Inside Indiana Sports.
A huge couple of months for the Indy 11, capped this week when Governor Eric Holcomb signed SB 7 into law. The stadium can now become a reality. First, your reaction to, because I know it was a long, tough process.
It's been a grind. The process still continues, but certainly from a legislative standpoint, it's nice to be through the State House, and we really appreciate everybody that's been involved. Our fans were very vocal about their support of that, and now we get to move on to the next steps with the City of Indianapolis.
And the next step would be you got to go to the City County Council.
City, absolutely. We're going to have a consultation process with the public and the city, and we're going to be able to be in a better position to identify the when and the where in terms of the next steps.
Yeah, and the when and the where. Of course, everybody wants to know the when and the where, and there's great curiosity about the stadium. We've seen the renderings, and it looks like it's going to be a fabulous but can you give us any hints.
At this point, we're really in the exploratory stages, so we look forward to escalating that now in the months ahead for sure. Renderings are available online, of course. Everybody that's seen them, it really understands I'm personally really excited about the soccer-specific stadium. It's the whole neighborhood transformational development project that comes with it, right? Whether it's the office space, retail, the apartments, the boutique hotel, all of that put on a 16 or 20 acre campus.
And I know that Ursula Ozdemir, your owner, has really emphasized the multi-purpose uses for this facility.
Definitely. As I say, it's a place for people to come and stay, work, play, all in one campus area.
No question that once the stadium is built and that the MLS, the Major League Soccer, will eventually come calling?
Well, we think so, but ultimately we're building the stadium because we think it's the right thing, and regardless of which league we play in. We play in an incredible league right now in USL Professional. Our job this year that we really want to make sure that we fulfill, and our objective is to lead the league in attendance, and that's where we are right now. We had a wonderful home opener. Of course, we've been away for the month of the last month or so, but the boys in blue are back in town for the next 5 straight games at home at Lucas Oil. But our home opener, we had over 20,000 fans. Yeah, and the team's doing well. Let's. What brought you were an executive with the CBC in Toronto. That's right.
What brought you to this job and to Indy?
Really intrigued. Well, love the city. My wife and I have always loved Indianapolis. We've been here many times. So a great place to raise a family, standard of living, but very intrigued by I think Indy 11 is fraught with opportunity. So I've always been opportunistic, and once I met Ursula and some of the ownership group, it was, we sealed the deal.
Yeah, good. And again, the team is off to a good start.
Mm-hmm. 4-2. We have a playoff position, but we've been on the road a bit, so it's going to be nice to return home, play at Lucas Oil, and hopefully get on another winning streak.
Yeah, and Ursula said this is the best talent they've had. Martin Rennie, your coach, represented with coaches and players represented.
Yeah, we've got 13 different countries on our squad, a 23-man roster, and if you include the coaches, we've got 15 countries represented in the world's game.
Greg, as we wrap up, I know you've had incredible fan support, both for the stadium initiative and just in general. I mean, there is a core here of people who really embrace soccer.
There really is. And the question we're being asked now is, what else can fans do? And I think it's a great question. I would say it maybe sounds too basic, but fans need to be the fans. Come on out and support the boys in blue. Make sure that we're filling the seats at Lucas Oil. We got to remember that over the next 3 years, when 11 Park finally gets built, we want to make sure that the team is well supported. So wear your merchandise, wear your gear, tell your neighbors, tell your friends, tell your workmates, etc. Come and support soccer in Indiana.
All right. Well, Greg, welcome to Indianapolis. Welcome to. Again, we all are very eager to see how this all plays out. Thanks for being on the.
Thank you so much
for being on the show.
Appreciate it.
Still to come, perspective on Indiana's top business stories from our Insiders panel. But first, the rise in so-called mindful drinking has led to a rise in local non-alcoholic beverage options for Hoosiers. It's the subject of this month's Trendiana segment with Yelp Midwest Regional Director Brittany Smith.
Your segments always focus on Hoosier businesses really doing great things, and this is a great example. But this non-alcoholic drink business has been blowing up around the country, and including here in Indiana.
Yeah, you'll probably see a lot of people are looking for sugar alternatives to have lower sugar in their drinks. Another beautiful thing is you're walking into a grocery, and now you can see dozens upon dozens of different types of drinks. So, and now you've got Hoosier businesses creating them.
Lots of them. Well, let's start in Zionsville, close to Indianapolis here. Aha Chai.
Yes, this is a wonderful business that's been creating custom-made tea blends. You've got everything from a rose and lavender, using all natural ingredients for your teas. They're also making it in concentrate, so you can take it home. It's already pre-brewed for you. And you're going to find it at coffee shops and grocery stores throughout the state. Calvin Fletcher's, for example, is one that carries it, and you can have a really good zingy chai.
Cold brew coffee. That's really been gaining momentum around the country and here in Indiana. Stir cold brew coffee is down in Bloomington.
Yeah, so the thing that makes this different from just a regular iced coffee is that they're taking time to actually create the coffee versus temperature to create the actual cold brew. So you're getting a less acidic version. It's a really good zingy way to start your day, and you can find that in Blooming Foods and a lot of businesses down in Bloomington.
All right, throughout Indiana in the Midwest, you can find Circle City Kombucha. Now, tell us, is kombucha?
Yes. So kombucha is taking a tea, it's fermenting it with sugars, yeast. SCOBY is one of the elements to it, getting very sciencey there with it. And Circle City Kombucha is using all natural ingredients, giving people something to use or drink instead of soda. So they've got flavors like Concord grape, hibiscus, really fun and innovative flavors. And they've got fun news coming soon, too.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Well,
stay tuned
for that one. Simplicity Juice. Now, this is a cool story and really an innovative entrepreneurial story.
Yes,
too.
yes. 100% pressed juice, no additions of sugars. When you look at the ingredients on it, you're going to see the straight vegetables and fruits that are in there. You're going to find it on the shelves at Kroger, Market District throughout the state, and now throughout the Midwest.
Wow.
And as I was sharing before we kicked off, it also makes a good cocktail if you want
good.
to add that with some of your favorite local distilleries, too.
Duly noted on that
Yes.
one. And finally, we've got Soda Guys handcrafted beverages.
Yes. So when you go into a local restaurant, you're seeing, those classic Coca-Colas and all those other brands, but now we have a business that's creating it with cane sugar, natural ingredients, and you're going to find Mexi-Cola, grapefruit, lots of fun and innovative flavors, and giving you a local alternative.
Brittany,
Brittany,
that's
all
thank
right,
you.
I know.
Thinking
Give you
about
so
the
many
cold brew
options.
coffee. Yes. Thank you so much,
Thank
Brittany
you, Gary.
Smith. Great perspective on non-alcoholic beverages. Who knew they're gaining in popularity around the state?
That's right, mixing it up.
And finally, our latest insiders give perspective on Indiana's top business stories. This week's panel includes HRG Strategies President Robert Herzog, University of Indianapolis Assistant Professor of Political Science Laura Merrifield Wilson, and Short Strategy Group CEO Frank Short.
We start off with that big expansion from Beck's in Atlanta, northern Hamilton County. Frank, Beck's is truly a homegrown Indiana success story, largest family-owned seed company in the entire United States. The $62 million expansion will essentially double their processing and production facility in Atlanta.
You're right. I think it's a great success story. They're not only the largest in Indiana, but they're like the third largest in the country, and they only do business in about 11 or 12 states as opposed to the whole country. I think it's a business that's been focused, and as you talked about earlier, we were talking off camera, these jobs that are going to be coming are tech jobs, so it's kind of, Laura was just saying, it combines our roots with where we're going in business, so, it's a lot different than when they started that company.
Yeah, very, very much a different story. And Laura, as you talk about these jobs, 60 jobs or so, this is an agriculture company, but the jobs are in software writers and IT developers, people in the research area. So these are high tech jobs and jobs that pay above the average.
They are. They're incredibly lucrative. These are the kind of things we want to attract to the state. And I do think it's a great merging of our history, where we're going. It's the agricultural roots, but it's in the 21st century. And that's exactly what they're offering here.
Yeah, from a workforce standpoint, agriculture, like other sectors, trying to get young people, manufacturing, searching for those young people. These kinds of jobs is kind of the message that the ag community wants to get out to young people, college graduates. These are the kind of jobs we have in the industry.
It's a great vertical for Indy to be in, and I love the slow but steady growth too of this organization. It just proves what you can do as a family, well-run organization within agriculture in Indiana and the Midwest.
Yeah,
It's a really good story.
as you look at this sector, it's generally called the Ag Biosciences now. Agrinovus is an organization really doing some great things in Indiana to bring these elements together. But the potential that you feel Indiana has in this space, Beck's is just one of numerous companies in the space. You've got Purdue, among others.
Yeah. There's a ton of upside, right? It's a matter of kind of identifying priorities and making sure from an investment standpoint on the public policy side and investment of, from the state that we're making those right decisions. But this is clearly one from a private investment perspective, makes a lot of sense. But you're going to see a lot of growth in this vertical for sure.
Yep. In terms of economic development, you have to look at what is happening in a number of community cities around the state, including here in central Indiana. Frank, Westfield continues to be a community that is changing in a big way. They announced a major $25 million residential and commercial development for the city's downtown, retail, residential, and other things there. One city that really is transforming itself.
Yeah, I think Mayor Cook, when he was talking about, I read one of the reports yesterday, they want to make sure, as we were just talking earlier, history with going forward, so they want to maintain their downtown, their old downtown, much as Carmel has done with the Arts District, but bring in, wrap the new around it and everything. So, all those bedroom communities from Indianapolis are doing a great job of becoming their own destination, not just somewhere people live, come to the city and work and go home. They're now destinations on their own. And all the Hamilton County mayors, all those cities, Carmel, Fishers, Westfield, Noblesville, they're all growing.
They are, yeah.
It's what it seems like we talk about it every time on this show that I'm on. It's all about livability, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, this is an perfect example of trying to build that livability in the core downtown, as Frank mentioned, that, younger people, even some retired want to go to restaurants, want to walk around, be in a livable spot, and that's a good example.
And I think it's about building a brand too. And in this case, Westfield's brand is at youth sports with Grand Park, and heck, the Colts are going to have their training headquarters there for the next 10 years. So it's about creating a kind of that brand around vibrancy. Fisher's, it's the high tech, the innovation, entrepreneurship piece.
Yep. I like it a lot. The North Side is really doing a great job. Hopefully they can keep the full steam ahead, and this is a great example for Westfield.
Well, and it's about recognition, I guess you could say. Carmel this week was named a top 10 place to raise a family in the Midwest. Now, you have a lot of lists that are out there. Does that mean anything?
I think it does. Carmel obviously rises to the top for a number of different things, but when you look in terms of economic opportunities, certainly from community, we talk about livability. I mean, even education. They're known not just within Central Indiana or the state, but really across the country, and they've obviously been very successful.
Yeah, and attracting corporate headquarters and that corporate base. They've done a really good job at that. Another economic development piece, sports is big here in Indianapolis and around the state. This was a big week for the Indy 11, the soccer franchise here in Indianapolis. Governor Holcomb signing the bill that essentially creates the opportunity to build a new stadium as part of a bigger development, but a big week for the Indy 11.
Yeah, and I think Ursula Oatsmere has done a great job. But as you said, it's a big development. It's not just a stadium and parking for 1,000 cars. Again, a destination. And much as every development that's going on Waterside that Ambrose is doing is a destination. Cityway, just south of downtown, was a destination, one of the first ones that Buckingham did, Brad Chambers. And Ursula is going to build a destination with retail and living space and apartments and restaurants like you talked about. So again, the focus will be the stadium, but it'll be everything around it that creates that destination. Now the question will be where it's going to go. That's the interesting question. I don't think anybody knows that yet.
Yeah, nobody knows. What do we think? Is it going to be? Everybody thinks it's got to be downtown somewhere close.
Yeah, I've heard I think everybody heard a number of different places that could be. I think all the focus is near downtown or very closely adjacent to. So. That's the next big step, and this was we couldn't get to that next spot, without being able to get through the governor. So I'm glad to see that they're going to be able to do that.
Yep, Frank. You think the site south of Lucas Oil, and then that's close. You mentioned Waterside, the GM.
Yeah, it all connects. So it seems like a logical place. So. Let's see what happens.
We'll see. Also, this week, remembering some Hoosier icons, some true legends in the political community in our state. Richard Lugar passing away, and a lot of social media flooded with a lot of thoughts and remembrances of him. And Laura, as you look at the legacy that he leaves as a former mayor of Indianapolis, as a senator, the impact not only here in Indiana, but really around the globe.
Oh, exactly. It was an international reputation that Lugar cultivated. I think part of it was because he wasn't partisan in what he did. He was willing to compromise. He was also someone who was really focused on the long term. So through his 2 terms as mayor and then 6 in terms of the Senate, he wasn't just looking at what we're doing now, but kind of that vision for the future. I see a lot of what we've done in Indianapolis to credit to him.
And how about the bipartisanship that you mentioned? A lot of people bring that up with him that seems to be vacant or missing in today's environment.
I had the pleasure of seeing that on a number of different occasions with him, and his fight for hunger, his internationalism, what he did in the city of Indianapolis. I think it's something that today's legislators, whether they be here in Indianapolis or in DC, can really work towards. It's about finding common ground, right? And I think he was a good example of that.
Yeah, I think you take Birch Bayh and Richard Lugar, and those kind of politicians aren't around anymore. When you think about it, Birch Bayh was the only person in the history of the Republic to write 2 constitutional amendments who wasn't a founding father. Not one, twice. Title IX, which allowed women and girls to participate in sports. I noticed the Fever was well represented at the memorial service yesterday, which I thought was nice. Senator Lugar, nuclear weapons proliferation, the stopping of that. Working again with Sam Nunn from Georgia, Democrat, more bipartisan. Those types of people, the Birch Bayhs, the Dick Lugars. Lee Hamilton was at the service yesterday, another foreign affairs expert. He and Dick Lugar worked for years together, on foreign affairs, advising presidents in Lee's case from Johnson to Obama, So I think that You're right. I think we need more of that to come back because it's a unique quality that we're losing bit by bit every day.
Yeah.
And it's everybody's fault, so everybody has to give some to get the process going
Amazing
back.
Hoosier legacy. I mean, really, it's the way to look at it with those two. It really is.
Yep, no question. Robert Herzog, Laura Merrifield Wilson, also Frank T. Short. Thank you, one and all.
That wraps up this week's Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. Remember, you can find all of this week's TV segments, as well as the top business news from throughout the state, at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. While you're there, you can also subscribe to our platform of free e-newsletters. This is Andy Ober for Inside Indiana Business.